Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of Rock the Boat. With me, as always, my esteemed co-host, the inestimable, the magnificent Reagan William Reed. How are you, sir, this week?
I'm feeling very flattered. Thank you, Bob.
That's not my goal. That's just, well, maybe it is, because I want him to do his best. So build people up.
You think maybe I'll go easy on you and I won't eviscerate your bad arguments if you've buttered me up at the start. Is that it?
Yeah. That was definitely a pregnant pause there. I was like, I didn't know what to say.
Had to think on that one.
Yeah.
Exposed. I caught you. Red-handed. Okay.
Wow, you learned one of my ninja mind tricks. Okay. No, we're not going there. But maybe. But anyway, this week we had the Conroe City Council races, and they're not all finalized though. Okay, they still have a runoff between Harry Hardman and a guy by the name of John Hernandez. Do you know John Hernandez?
I met him once.
I've actually been to his tire shop, and I think I got a tire or two. So,
really?
Yeah, and also I had a light out on my car, and he helped me with that. So he's a nice guy. Anyway, but I want to talk to a little bit about the legacy of former Mayor Toby Powell and how that played out in this election cycle. I think a lot of people, when Mayor Tchaikovsky got elected, right, he had a different electorate than typical in Conroe. You realize that.
Because they postponed that election to November because of COVID. Right.
And so he had a bunch of new voters that were untrackable. And I think that the prevailing wisdom I told people was wrong. And they said, why? Well, that election was not typical. I mean, Jody Tchaikovsky got, I think, 12,000 votes, something like that. And in this election cycle, there were 4,500 total, I believe. That's it. So in that scenario, I think that you're always going to have the traditionalist, the old, I call them old Conroe. You gotta, what's old Conroe mean to you when you hear that phrase, Reagan?
Well, my family's been in Conroe for 5 generations now.
See how his accent got all like 5 generations. He got all southern on me.
I am old Conroe.
Okay, you are? That's scary.
I am old Conroe.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not. Neither is Billy, and neither is Brenza.
So no, you're old California.
Once again.
Well, these California transplants. California Bob.
No! Don't say that, man. That's like turn me into Wicked Witch of the West. I'm seeing a melting witch in front of me.
So let's tell the viewers, though, what did happen. Who won, Bob? What happened?
Oh, well, sorry. Rambling off, as always. Well, my friend Howard Wood, who was Toby's son-in-law, I'm close friends with, he won.
He beat an incumbent. He beat the mayor pro tem, Raymond McDonald.
And nothing against Raymond. I didn't even come out and endorse till the last day because I felt like basically I should stay out of this election as far as like endorsements and stuff. I didn't do it because I held a forum and I didn't want that forum to be questioned because really that forum was great. I don't care what you say. I think in the long run, Reagan's like, oh no, the forum again. But
verified.
Yeah, verified. I get people walking up to me going, verified. I'm like, no. But, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So, Howard Wood defeated the incumbent in position 4. Mm-hmm. And position 5, you had the incumbent Marshall Porter. And this one was really a nail-biter because Susan Johnson came very close, but Marshall Porter was able to prevail. Mm-hmm. And then in position 3, this is the unfinished business you talked about. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a runoff with Harry Hardman, who definitely I would say is the favorite going into the runoff. He got in the 40s versus John Hernandez, who was in the high teens, I believe. Or
he
maybe
got 17.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
And then the municipal judge race is going to a runoff as well between Melanie Turner and William Wagner. Mm-hmm. And there were so many candidates in that race, it was going to be a given that would go to a runoff. So I really think, Bob, and it kind of goes to what you were kind of alluding to a second ago.
Yeah.
This was a good election for Old Conroe.
Yes.
And I think that it really showed the strength of Old Conroe and it showed, and you had this whole dynamic at play, and we've talked about this before, I think.
Yeah.
But my opinion is that Old Conroe and what we call the establishment,
Right.
sometimes they are synonymous. Well, sometimes there's some overlap,
Yes.
but they're not necessarily exactly the same thing. What do you think about that, Bob?
No, I think it's true. I think Conroe is essentially the most conservative city almost in the Houston area as far as...
Well, Cut and Shoot would like a word with you.
Cut and Shoot would like a word with me now. Okay, calm down, Cut and Shoot and Splendora. Okay, but seriously, as
Not
far
Splendora, but Cut and
as... Yeah,
Shoot.
Cut and Shoot, definitely. But seriously, I think that Old Conroe married to the Tea Party in the Woodlands could be a recipe and a formula for victory for conservatives. I mean, that's one thing I wasn't able to do very well, is kind of cross-pollinate those two, because they're like, well, the county commissioner stuff, that's not Conroe, right? That's the county. They act like it's separate things. But when it comes to these local city council races, it matters because Conroe has a huge budget and people don't even realize it.
Bigger than the counties, I believe, right?
It's big budget, yeah, and hundreds of millions of dollars. So Conroe is very important in this county, and it's never going to end, okay? Because I don't see there's going to be a movement by some new town to end the reign and supremacy of Conroe in politics in this county. No. But what I'd like to talk about and close this little segment out here is the victory party. I never talk about celebratory and gloating. I think
I asked you like twice where it was, and you never told me. I guess I wasn't invited.
once again the pregnant pause. I totally forgot. I spaced. I was just wanting to get there because I just wanted to get there, and it turned out to be a very Boucher was playing. Boucher played.
Did he play the Boucher song?
No, he did not play the Boucher song. Oh, no, he did not. But he was playing, and it was a fun night. I mean, everybody was in such a good mood.
You just got to rub it in, don't you?
No. I'll have something to say about that after this. But Boucher was playing. It was like I could see the Tea Party, married to Old Conroe. And it was a great moment for the Powell family, especially. Howard Wood's victory was the most lopsided, by the way.
Yeah, that surprised me because I thought that would have been the closest.
Yeah, I kind of thought that as well. And everybody was trying to help Howard, and they did. He got almost the same amount of votes that Toby Powell got when he became mayor. So it was very interesting that he inherited that. And Howard avoided talking about Toby extensively. He didn't want to do, hey, I'm his son-in-law, thing. That's not going to really run well. But I got to say some things that I was the bummer of the night, okay? Isn't that amazing? Bob's a bummer. I was the bummer of the night. Not really. I said some heartfelt words because a few people went to me when Toby Powell had his funeral, and they asked me did I want to say something or speak, and I was like, I don't think I can. But I got the opportunity through Howard's victory and all these people around, and I kind of did the tear up thing a little bit, and I had to stop and gather myself because really having to go to battle with somebody then becoming their friend is a very strange thing. I don't know if you've ever had that happen in your political experience. Have you ever?
Yeah, there's this guy named Bob Coates.
You ain't nobody till you tangle with me in this county. All right. But it was a hard thing to say. And what I said was all the good things that Toby did and all the good things that Howard did were brought together and the people there. And I teared up, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Yes, I can be sensitive, Reagan, is what I'm trying to say.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I was sensitive. But it was beautiful. I got to dance with Vanessa, Toby's wife, and, we all felt...
Who came up with the name of the show, by the way.
Yes, Rock the Boat she did. Thank you, Vanessa. But let's talk about this, because you're probably better with the empathy speak than Bob is, okay?
Oh, boy, we're in trouble.
Yeah, empathy speak. So let's talk about this is a terrible, talk about bummer Bob. This is a terrible subject to broach, but if you lose to somebody or if they lose to you, and I feel like if you respect them, you don't gloat, right? You don't. I think that's just a classy way to be. Right?
Very unbecoming. And if you lose, you concede great. If you win graciously. If you lose, you concede graciously.
Correct.
Donald Trump.
Thanks for that little byline, tagline that we can put hashtag. Yeah. Okay.
It wouldn't be a show if I didn't bash Trump at least once. But, go on.
All right. But very good bashing there. But seriously, talk to about, like, I mean, Susan Johnson lost by, like, what, 50-some votes?
And she lost with grace. I saw her put out a statement afterwards, and she's definitely a class act, and I think she has a very bright future in Conroe politics.
Now, Boucher will hate me for saying this, but I think she probably wins something in Conroe.
I hope she does.
By getting that close. When you get under 100 votes in most elections, you have a very good chance.
I liked both those ladies. I think probably I'm more aligned with Marsha Porter on the issues.
Philosophically, yeah.
But I think Susan Johnson's a great person. She's done a lot of good things for the party. Very involved in the Republican Party. And, we haven't always seen eye to eye on everything, but I've always found, even when we disagree, Susan Johnson has always been somebody that I could talk to and that I could work with.
Right.
I've always found that to be the case.
And myself, that's true, because I came after the bylaw stuff and all that. So, Susan, it'll be okay, and congratulations on almost getting there, because she ran a good campaign, and she did pretty well. I mean, I actually thought she did very well at my forum. So I think she followed.
She was verified.
She was verified. Howard winning, though, was such a high moment for me, and it was like bookends. And I told the story of how Howard bought the family home to ease the family's grief, and that's a powerful story, and that's why I teared up thinking about that.
You're a good man, Bob.
Thank you. But let's talk about who's still fighting, though. It's Harry Hardman, Mr. What do we call him? The Lord of the Water?
The Water Lord.
The Water Lord. Okay, the Lord of the Water versus John Hernandez, just a small local guy.
The Lord of the Tires.
The Lord of the Tires. So it's going to be, I think that Harry doesn't have a very steep hill to climb. He's got about 44%, so
Harry's going to win.
Harry will win.
Typically, in runoffs, if it's a very close runoff, statistically the person who comes in second actually usually wins in a very close runoff.
Right.
But if there's a huge amount separating the two candidates in this case, it'd be very, very hard for Hernandez to overcome that margin.
He's a popular guy. He's fiery. Have you seen him speak?
No, I haven't seen him speak. Like I said, I've only talked to him once, and it wasn't for very long.
Okay.
But so I don't know much about the guy, to be honest. But I've known Harry for a long time. We go back since he first ran for the water board. And he actually gave me a tie clip that belonged to his father.
What?
And it was a tie clip with an elephant on it that his father got at the 1964 Republican Party convention, where he was a delegate that voted for Barry Goldwater.
Whoa, Barry Goldwater, my favorite, these glasses.
And that's one of the most special things that I own. Yeah, but Harry's a great guy.
That's cool. Very good.
And I'm sure there's a lot of other stories other people could tell about, little kind things here and there that Harry's done that have meant a lot to them. But yeah, Harry's a good guy.
Well, let's also talk about one more race, and then we're going to move on to something else. A lot of people don't understand this kind of old misnomer thing about judges being kind of granted titles without law degrees. You automatically assume that somebody in a municipal court would have a law degree, right? Well, the two candidates who came out on top, Melanie Turner and William Wagner, they both don't have law degrees, okay?
Oh, I didn't know Wagner didn't.
No, he does not. Okay. So all the lawyers lost, and there's a reason.
I can tell you something about how people feel about lawyers.
Yeah, them abogados are not fun.
You know it's true, Eric. You know it's true.
It is true. But No. When I think lawyers, I think of the reason why I didn't go to law school, because there was one salient fact that stuck in my mind from the early 90s. And you know what that fact was? And it's still true. I think it's actually a higher percentage now. But about 70% of the world's lawyers at the time, I think it's 71 now, were in America. And I just thought, I don't want to add to that problem. I talk enough. So, yeah. So, but anyway, this race is going to be, I think, more of a personality contest, okay? And an old Conroe versus more of the establishment in Conroe's kind of race, because Wagner's father is a prominent establishment.
He's very old Conroe.
Very old Conroe.
In fact, here's a super interesting anecdote for you, Bob.
Okay.
So, Wagner's father actually used to be on the same deer lease as my dad. So
You're old Conroe.
Yeah, so we used to hunt with him. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
see him at deer camp, you know? Yeah.
Wow. Deer camp with Reagan. How old were you, Reagan?
Oh, I was as soon as I could walk, I started hunting.
That makes sense. Now I understand you more. But moving on, I think this race is a toss-up, really. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I have no idea who's going to win this. Not at all. But I think it's important, and people don't realize the significance of these municipal courts and how it's actually a great thing to have somebody who's not a lawyer be a judge. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the most important court. Okay, so there's really only two courts that your average person is going to find themselves in typically, and that's the Justice of the Peace.
Right.
Which I've been there a couple of
What'd
times.
you do, Reagan? Something bad? Get sued? Serve papers?
No, just traffic stuff.
Oh, Reagan, speeding. Yes.
Get rid of these speed traps. Gosh. But I always do the defensive driving and get my record expunged. I'm a very responsible citizen and very safe person. But anyways,
we'd never know that. Reagan the rebel.
Although I've had Howard Wood's bumper sticker on my truck, and I'm amazed that he won despite me having his bumper sticker on my truck.
Oh yeah,
I probably cost him
some votes.
Some votes.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyways, the Justice of the Peace and the municipal city courts, because these are the courts that handle like your traffic violations, just basic
and smaller
tickets,
disputes and
smaller
stuff.
disputes under a certain dollar amount.
Right.
So these are very important courts for that reason.
Yeah. And how your demeanor is important, because if you can't deal with people every day, ordinary people, you're going to have a problem as a judge in these kind of courts. If you're thinking, you're quiet in my court, be quiet. If you're that guy and you're not really mediating out the issues, it's kind of like People's Court or some TV show. If it was filmed, it'd look a lot like that.
Yeah. But you don't necessarily need a law degree
No.
to be a judge of these courts, because it is just these basic things. So really, it's more
Philosophy.
common sense than anything.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You need common sense.
Definitely. I like that. Common sense. Let's end that first part of the show with that. And we appreciate all those who ran. And remember this, candidates. Just because you didn't win this time doesn't mean you won't win the next time. All right? Remember that. And that's true. But let's move on. Let's go national. All right? And I know Reagan is sick of talking about this, but I'm bringing it up anyway, because let's kind of scenario out, because I just heard on Monday they're going to be having Supreme Court decisions rendered. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yes, on Monday. So I think that it comes up on Monday and all week next week. Reagan, unfortunately for you, we're going to be talking about Roe v. Wade. Now, before we get into that, doesn't the left revere Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
I would say it's honestly kind of mixed, Bob. I think that, to one degree, she is kind of an icon. I mean, just recently, Congress decided to put up two statues, and one was of Sandra Day O'Connor, and one was of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It was the two first female Supreme Court justices. Now, when have you ever seen people put up statues of the two first of something?
Never.
And it's because they view, even though Sandra Day O'Connor really should have been the real feminist icon here,
True.
she was kind of a conservative, And
Kind of. Key phrase, kind
Yeah,
of.
so in their minds, I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg is kind of the first female justice that they want to celebrate. But I think that some of the left are not necessarily happy with her because I think a lot of them are kind of resent her for not stepping down during Obama's term when she could have been replaced by a more left-leaning justice and instead deciding to stick on.
Okay, so you're saying it for purely power reasons they resent her. They don't resent her for opening kind of the floodgate on this issue for the left, intellectual honesty on her part when she basically said that the Roe v. Wade was a hugely flawed decision.
And she is somebody who is pro-choice, but she thought as a matter of law, Roe v. Wade was poorly decided.
Intellectual integrity, I appreciate her for that, definitely.
And typically you do get that from the justices, in my opinion, because they're sheltered from the
Sotomayor gives you that?
Well, 8 of them.
Oh,
because
there you go.
they're sheltered
Okay.
from. But seriously, like Brian and Kagan, I don't agree with them, but I do respect their opinions, and I do think they're intellectually honest.
Okay.
Sotomayor is on that case, but because they are sheltered from the electoral crass process, they can be more open about what they think.
Okay. Now, so this argument that the left is now making is they tried to federalize this by passing a bill, okay? What, the Schumer bill?
Can we talk about how incompetent and stupid Chuck Schumer is?
He always has
Because
been, though.
if I was him, okay, and I'm as pro-life as they come, but if I was in Chuck Schumer's shoes and I was in the Democrat shoes, what I would have done is to get a more popular bill passed that basically would make it only legal like the first trimester. And so then you really politically would put the Republicans on the defense. And instead of only getting 49 votes, he'd actually probably get some Republican votes like Collins
50,
and
52.
Murkowski.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, would have been a much better strategic move. But instead, now he's got all his Democrat senators on record supporting the very unpopular position and now having to defend
It's like
abortion
the kids
for
walking.
all 9
you know.
months of pregnancy on demand for any reason. And so he just blew this. I mean,
Yeah.
McConnell eats his lunch. It's fun to see.
Well, it was easy to eat his lunch because trying to federalize 9-month abortion, when if you go to the most liberal countries in Europe, I mean, they don't go more than 18 weeks, folks. They don't.
Yeah.
Okay. European socialism is 18 weeks, not 36 weeks. I mean, come on.
But Europe is an example. I mean, we've had this issue frozen for the last 50 years or so, right? And so the issue was not allowed to play out through the electoral process and the normal legislative give and take and compromise. And so instead, it's just been this festering cultural
Well, it's because the
wound,
courts,
whereas
they've intervened too much on this.
in Europe, you did have it play out through the democratic process, and you ended up with much more restrictive abortion laws, but it's still legal to some extent. I kind of think that's what you would have here had Roe v. Wade not been decided the way it was.
I think you're right. I think they would have had first or maybe second trimester abortions, but not maybe nationwide. Some states would have held out. But I think this whole abortion issue, the reason why it plays out is because the Democrats are going to try to use this issue in the midterms to mitigate their losses, okay? And they're going to be like, you can't trust the Republicans to help women. You know, the suburban women thing we always talk about. How do you think this is going to play out with suburban women across the U.S.?
Well, I think on a whole, and this may surprise some people, and this is not necessarily the conventional wisdom, but in my opinion, this is my prediction, Bob.
Okay.
I think that the abortion issue is kind of going to be a wash, at least for 2022. I think, it's going to fire up some on the left, but it's also going to galvanize some on the right.
Definitely.
And a lot of the Democratic constituencies are not necessarily super pro-abortion. I mean, you think like Hispanics and African Americans.
No, church-going folks.
Yeah, and so I think to a large extent, for the people who abortion is their biggest issue,
Right.
they've already sorted themselves out into parties. And so I think this will help the Democrats a little bit on fundraising. This is a big fundraising issue for them. And maybe in a handful of like suburban congressional districts, it might move the needle just a little bit. But overall, I think it's going to kind of be a wash. And I think that the biggest issues dominating this cycle are still going to be inflation, crime, and the situation at the border. Those kinds of kitchen table issues, I think, are really.
I think inflation.
Gonna dominate.
Once again, super stagflation T-shirts. Where are they, Billy? You own the trademark. Come on, Billy. We need them T-shirts.
Now, what we have to be careful of, Bob.
What's that?
And I think both sides are prone to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
Republicans have been known to put their foot in their mouth on this issue in particular. I'm thinking back to Todd Aiken. Remember, he was the one that made the legitimate rape comment and threw a completely winnable.
Well, I remember election. Clayton Williams. He made stupid comments.
Or Clayton Williams is another great example. Gave us Ann Richards. Okay, so
ever.
Republicans need to be very careful not to come off as stupid or crazy and overplay this.
Yeah,
because they definitely are capable of it. But at the same time, I think the Democrats can also overplay their hands.
Oh yeah,
and because this bill, like they voted on in the Senate, having abortion on demand.
It was infanticide,
all the way up until the point of birth.
Yeah.
That is, and even including sex-selective abortions, where you can intentionally abort a baby.
So we went Chinese.
It's a girl.
We went full China.
Okay, this is not where the vast majority of the American public is. I really think, and again, I'm totally pro-life. All the way through, right? With the only exception I would say is if it's absolutely necessary to save the life of the mother. But other than that, totally pro-life. I don't think that that's where the majority of the country is, just to be honest.
I think they're in the middle.
But I don't think they're all 9 months for any reason either. I think the majority of the country is probably it should be illegal in the third trimester, lots of restrictions in the second trimester, and legal in the first trimester. That's probably where the majority of the country is, if I had to kind of put a finger on it.
I agree. Well, let's look at the actual look of this. Normally when the Supreme Court meets, it's probably going to be mid-morning. Well, probably 9 or 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock maybe. They're gonna announce these decisions, okay? And I can see right now that they're going to have hundreds of thousands. The Democrats will go like, bus them in. They're going to be busing them in from all over the place.
They've already got them protesting at their houses.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think it's an outrage, Bob. I think it's an outrage. I mean, you should not be going to somebody's private residence, just like the people that followed Kirsten Sinema into the bathroom or whatever. I mean, this goes beyond just legitimate First Amendment expression or like protest. If you're going to protest in front of the Supreme Court building, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's your right. Yeah. But when you're going to people's private homes and their, kids and their families with, waving these obscene signs and chanting threats and all that, that to me is menacing, and I think that crosses a line.
Right, terroristic threat, really.
Yeah.
But on that fun note, we haven't done this in a while, and I'm wondering if Billy even has the graphic. Do you have a winner and loser this week, Reagan?
Oh, you're going to put me on this. Oh, I'll tell you my loser this week.
Who's your loser?
My loser's Chuck Schumer.
Oh, definitely.
For all the reasons we talked about. I mean, he is proven to be, and I'm not just saying that because ideologically I disagree with him. Because I think Nancy Pelosi actually is a pretty competent leader of her conference.
When she isn't eating ice cream in front of the camera.
Yeah, but Chuck Schumer is just a moron.
Yes.
And, for winner, let me think about it. Who's your winner and loser, Bob?
Mine is would have been Schumer, like yours. My winner this week was Conroe. Conroe won.
The city of Conroe.
The city of Conroe won. Oh, well, no, because I think the candidates were respectful to each other. There was an ideas contest, really. It was, do we want to continue to promote just kind of a very forward-looking vision of the city versus we got nuts and bolts things to do that we need done. And nuts and bolts won this election. So
I guess my winner, if I ever really had to find one, and I don't know if this is this week or last week, but I'd say J.D. Vance is the recent winner. You know J.D. Vance?
Yes.
He's the author of Hillbilly Elegy. And
great book.
Yeah, it is. Also made into a movie by Ronnie Howard.
Ronnie? You're not Ron? There's Richie Cunningham versus,
Ronnie Howard, Opie from Andy Griffith.
Yes,
redheaded.
yes, he became Richie.
He made a movie about J.D. Vance.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
I didn't know
Hillbilly Elegy. Check it out.
I will.
very interesting to see JD's evolution. He was very much like a never Trumper up until pretty recently, like 2018 even. But he's really kind of this, and he's a very smart guy, okay?
Yes.
He's on the intellectual vanguard of this national conservative movement, that's
Right.
where it's essentially this Buchananism, right?
Yeah.
Big government, domestic policy, but conservative on the cultural issues, and then
It's like Gene
isolationist,
Kirkpatrick in the 80s.
isolationist foreign
Yes,
policy.
yeah.
And so J.D. Vance is a big proponent of that, but he won the Republican primary for U.S. Senate in Ohio
It's amazing.
and had Trump's endorsement, and that's what enabled him to kind of pull out there at the end. And so Ohio's trending red, so he will probably be the winner in the general
gonna
election.
win. Yeah.
And look, I do not agree with a lot of his views. I am more of a Ronald Reagan, Barry Goldwater, National Review type conservative. But I will say this. J.D. Vance is very smart and he's very interesting. And so I do think it will be interesting having him in the Senate making those arguments, okay?
Those deeper arguments.
Because he is articulate. And
Yes.
so maybe he can make conservatives question some of our premises like, maybe we should think about some of these things differently. And so, yeah, in terms of like JD, I think the national conservatives would be much better served if they had more JD Vances, and less Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh, you had to say her name. Man.
Because look, she's a blithering idiot. JD Vance is smart,
Right.
And I don't always agree with him, but it's going to be interesting watching his career. He's a very interesting figure. So he's my winner.
Cool. With that, I think that's a nice bow tie with the winners and losers. I want to thank our producer, Dr. Billy Graff, and Bill Brenza sitting there playing with his phone as always. And I want to thank my co-host, Reagan William Reed. I say the William to give you the proper full name. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the show. Meaty show, once again. We're getting there's no way we're vegetarians. People, this show is meaty.
We love our viewers, all three of them. Thank
three
you.
viewers, thank you so much. Anyway, have a great week, folks. God bless.
Share, and subscribe.
Yes, true. Bye, y'all.